The predator lands. Kashera stood on the edge of a rocky cliff, her yellow eyes locked on the thick green jungle below. The wind pushed her long black hair back as she narrowed her gaze. Her sharp claws flexed, her muscles tensed, her breathing slowed. She had found him. The human. Just one. Alone. She smiled. How easy this would be. Kashera was not just any hunter. She was a warrior born on the red moons of Shantara. Her kind trained from birth to track, trap, and take trophies. Humans were rare, but when caught, they were considered high honor. They were fast, clever, but weak. Soft. This one, though, was strange. He had no ship, no weapons, no armor. He had entered the forbidden jungle alone, like he didn't care about danger, like he was waiting for something. She had watched him for 3 days. He built no shelter. He lit no fire. He barely ate. But somehow, every time she got close, he disappeared again, like he knew where she was. Maybe he smells fear, she whispered to herself. She laughed. It had been years since she felt fear. Kashara jumped from the cliff. She landed on her feet without a sound. The trees around her were tall and thick, the ground soft and covered in fallen leaves. She moved like a shadow, silent and quick. A trail of footprints appeared ahead, fresh ones, small, human, barefoot, leading deeper into the jungle. So careless, she muttered. But deep down, something felt off. She followed the trail, stepping over roots and ducking under branches. The air was hot, too still. Even the bugs were quiet. Then she saw it, a piece of red cloth tied to a tree branch. It fluttered slightly in the breeze. It was torn and dirty. Human. A trap. Or a sign. She kept moving. Soon, she came to a clearing. There was a fire pit in the center, still warm. Beside it, a half-eaten fruit, bitten only once. Next to it, a wooden cup, still full. He had just been here. She crouched low and sniffed the air. Then she froze. There it was again, that strange feeling crawling up her spine, like she was being washed. She stood and turned fast. Nothing. Only trees. But then, she heard a whisper. "You sure you're hunting me?" A voice. A human voice. Male. Soft. Calm. She spun around. Claws ready. No one. "Show yourself," she shouted. No answer. She took a step forward. Snap. A twig broke beneath her foot. Suddenly, the ground beneath her shifted. Not dirt. Not rock. Something had been placed there. She jumped back just in time. An old net trap shot up from below, barely missing her foot. Her eyes narrowed. "He set traps," she said, confused. "For me?" Humans didn't trap hunters. They ran. They begged. They died. But this one was different. As she moved deeper into the jungle, she saw more signs. Tiny markers carved into tree bark. A long vine tied across 2 trunks. Another trip trap. Even small bone charms left hanging like warnings. This wasn't luck. This was a plan. His plan. She paused beside a small pond to think. Her reflection stared back. Tired, confused, even a little shaken. Who was this human? She had never met prey like this. Then she noticed something beside the water. A drawing. Scratched into a flat stone. It was her. Her face. Her stance. Her armor. Perfectly drawn. She stepped back. Her heartbeat quickened. How did he know what she looked like? How long had he been watching her? Was she the hunter? Or the hunted? Suddenly, she heard a soft rustle. She turned fast. And this time, she saw him. Just for a moment. A man. Shirtless. Calm. Standing behind a tree. He smiled. Then he vanished into the trees again. She rushed forward, but he was already gone. "This is no normal human," she whispered. Her claws retracted. For the first time in many years, she felt unsure. not afraid. Not yet. But something close. She turned and looked back at the cliff she had jumped from. Going back would be easy. But her pride held her still. No. She would find him. She would win. He was clever, yes, but she was still the predator. Wasn't she? Late in the dark. The jungle was quiet. Too quiet. Kashera crouched low in the shadows, her breath slow and controlled. Night had fallen, and the stars above were hidden behind thick clouds. Her eyes glowed softly in the dark, scanning every leaf, every branch, every movement. But there was nothing. No birds, no insects, no wind. It was like the jungle itself was holding its breath. She had tracked many creatures across many worlds, but this was different. The silence felt like a trap, not one made with ropes or nets. No, this was a trap for the mind. And somehow, the human was already inside hers. He was still one step ahead. Kashera moved carefully, her bare feet pressing against damp soil. She followed the small trail of footprints deeper into the jungle. But they were different now, slower, wider apart. He wasn't running anymore. He was leading. She reached a tree with strange symbols carved into the bark, spirals, dots, and lines. They were meaningless to her, but they felt familiar, like she had seen them before in old battle maps or war scrolls. Was he marking his territory, or leaving messages? Ahead, she saw a flicker. A light. Small, orange, and soft. A fire. She rushed forward, but stopped when she reached the edge of another clearing. The fire was real, crackling in the center. Around it were 3 large stones, shaped like seats. Food had been placed on a wooden plank, water inside a large shell bowl. Even a small blanket lay folded neatly beside the fire. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. Like it was set for her. She stepped closer. Then she noticed the plate of food. Her favorite jungle fruit. The red kuva pod. A rare one. Not native to this part of the jungle. He had placed it there on purpose. Her mouth tightened. Was this a challenge? A game? Or something else? She picked up the fruit, sniffed it. Then she heard it again. His voice. Calm. Playful. Close. I thought you might be hungry. She spun around, claws out. But the jungle behind her was empty. Only the fire crackled. Only the shadows danced. I don't eat with prey, she growled into the darkness. His voice came again, softer. Who said you're the one doing the hunting? Her pulse quickened. She hated this feeling. Not fear, but confusion. She was supposed to control the hunt, lead the dance, trap the target. But now, she was following his steps. She took a deep breath and kicked over the fire. The flames hissed and died. Smoke rose into the night air. The perfect dinner scene turned to ash. I won't play your games, human, she said coldly. But even as she spoke, part of her knew. It was already too late. She was in his game now. And she didn't know the rules. She moved away from the clearing and climbed into the trees. She needed a higher view, a better angle. Her people taught her to see from above, to hunt from the sky like a hawk. But the jungle canopy offered no answers, just more questions. From her high perch, she saw something below, a small wooden structure built between 2 trees. A cabin. No, more like a lookout post. She dropped down silently. Inside, she found a notebook. Human writing. Sketches. Her face again, drawn from different angles. Her eyes. Her armor, even the scar on her shoulder from an old battle. Each page showed her doing something. Eating. Resting. Watching. The drawings were weeks old. He had been studying her before she even knew he existed. Then she found a note. Handwritten. You are not what they say you are. You don't have to be their weapon. I see the real you. Her hands shook slightly. She crushed the notebook, then threw it aside. But her mind didn't let go. How did he know? How did he see something even she didn't? a rustling sound behind her. She spun, again, too slow. Just the leaves this time. Or maybe not. She chased the sound, running through trees like lightning. Her feet never stumbled. Her body moved like wind. The jungle twisted and turned, but she was faster. Until she stopped and froze. In front of her stood a tall wooden statue. Of her. Not exact, but close enough. And next to it, another. A human male, standing beside her, hand outstretched. Like an offering. Or a promise. Kashara backed away slowly. This wasn't just a trap. This was a message. He wasn't trying to kill her. He was trying to reach her. But why? What did he want? Was he trying to tame her? Break her? Or save her? She had no answers. Only more signs. More questions. More shadows. The night closed in tighter. The human was still out there. Waiting. And now, so was she. Mind games begin. The rain came suddenly. Not loud, not strong, but cold, like needles falling through the darkness. Kashara didn't flinch. Her body was built for harsh weather. Her skin absorbed moisture, cooled her blood, sharpened her senses. But this rain felt strange, like it was trying to wash something away. She sat under a thick branch, silent, staring at the fire pit she had kicked over just hours before. The coals had gone cold. The food was gone. The blanket was missing. He had returned. Again, without her hearing. Again, without leaving a trace. He's playing with me, she thought. But why doesn't he strike? Why doesn't he run? Every instinct in her body screamed for her to act, to move, to kill. But she didn't. Because deep inside, something else had started. Not fear, not anger. Curiosity. The human wasn't trying to survive. He was trying to teach her something. But what? As dawn came, soft and gray, Kashara moved through the jungle with slower steps. Not lazy, but thoughtful. She wasn't chasing anymore. She was searching. At first, she followed broken leaves, scattered rocks, small signs that someone had passed. But then, she began to follow something else. A pattern. There were drawings on bark, on stone, even on the shells of fallen fruit. Symbols. Words. Faces. Her face. But drawn not with anger or fear. Drawn with care. With attention. She reached a small cave carved into a low hillside. Something about it felt old, untouched by war or machines. Moss grew along the entrance. Wind hummed softly through cracks. Inside, she saw torches already lit. How? Was he here now? She stepped inside slowly. The air was warm and still. And on the walls, more drawings. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. They told a story. Not of battle, but of her. A younger version of her. Smaller, gentler. Before she was given her first weapon. Before the armor. Before the blood. The drawing showed her laughing with another girl. Her sister. Long dead. Kashara felt her heart pause. No one knew about her sister. No one had ever spoken her name since the accident. Yet here it was. Written on a wall with lines and charcoal. A smile they once shared under twin moons. How does he know this? Her claws slowly retracted. Her breathing slowed. The walls around her didn't feel like traps anymore. They felt like memories. Not hers, but someone else's. Someone who had seen her. Someone who had studied not her body, but her soul. A quiet voice echoed from the back of the cave. Do you remember her? Kashara froze. The voice came again. You stopped talking about her. But I know you never stopped thinking about her. The human stepped out from the shadows. Calm. Unarmed. Barefoot. His hair was damp from the rain. His clothes were torn. But his eyes were steady. He didn't look like prey. He looked like someone who had already won. You shouldn't know her name, Kashara whispered, her voice shaking. But I do, he replied, because I've watched. I've listened. not just to your footsteps, but to the way you move when you think no one's looking, the way you pause before killing, the way your eyes search for something more. She stepped closer, claws out. You're not supposed to understand me. But I do, he said again. She didn't strike. She couldn't. Something inside her cracked open, like a frozen shell finally breaking in the sun. What do you want? She asked. He didn't smile. He didn't move. He just looked at her and said, I want you to remember who you were before they made you a weapon. She didn't remember walking out of the cave. But she did. She didn't remember dropping to her knees near the river. But she did. Her mind raced. Memories came in sharp flashes. Her first hunt, her first kill, the cheers of her people, the emptiness after every victory. The silence in her heart, the voice of her sister telling her stories. And now this human, unarmed, unafraid, and somehow stronger than any warrior she had ever faced. The sun rose higher. Kashara moved to a new place, a place she had never been. It was an old human structure, long broken by storms. Metal walls covered in vines. A fallen tower. Inside, she found a piece of glass. A mirror. She looked at herself and saw someone she didn't know. Not a predator. Not a soldier. Just a woman. A woman who had been hunted too. By grief. By silence. By duty. She felt a shadow behind her. Turned. He was there again. Watching. Always watching. Why didn't you kill me? She asked. He looked at her with calm eyes. Because you're not the one I came to fight. For the first time in her life, Kashara didn't know what to do. Not run. Not strike. Just feel. And in the deepest part of her heart, a voice whispered, maybe he's not the prey. Maybe he's the only one who sees me. The trap tightens. The jungle was awake. Birds called out from high trees. Insects buzzed between leaves. Far in the distance, thunder rolled low and deep. Life had returned to the forest. Everything moved again, except Kashara. She stood still on a flat stone circle in the middle of a small clearing. Her eyes scanned every leaf, every tree, every shadow. The message was clear. He had called her here. There were no traps she could see. No sharp wires. No hidden holes. Just one small object placed at the center of the circle. A single flower. Not just any flower. Erythari bloom. It only grew in her homeland, on her planet's highest cliffs. Its scent was soft, calming. Warriors placed it on the graves of the fallen. This wasn't bait. This was something deeper, something personal, and it made her angry. How dare he know so much? How dare he read her memories like a map? She stepped forward, slowly, picked up the flower. And then, a click. Stone beneath her foot shifted, just a little, but enough. She moved fast, lightning reflex, but not fast enough. The ground gave way, not into a pit, not into spikes, but into a slide, smooth, controlled. She slid down into the earth, spinning in the dark, until, thud, she landed hard on a dirt floor. Dust filled her nose. Roots hung from the ceiling above her. Faint torchlight lit the underground space. It was a tunnel, long, built with care. By him. She stood growling. Her claws snapped out. She rushed forward. No turns, no choices. Just one path. Until she reached it. A wide underground chamber. And he was there. Standing in the middle. Unarmed. Calm. Like always. You set a trap, she hissed. Yes, he said. But I walked in freely. Yes, he said again. Because you were ready. She raised her hand. Claws gleamed. You think I won't kill you. I think you don't want to. His words struck harder than blades. Her hand lowered slightly. Why? Why couldn't she strike? Was it pity? Confusion? No. It was something else. Something growing each time she heard his voice. Each time he looked at her like she was more than muscle and metal. He walked to the wall, pressed something. A section opened. Behind it, a hologram. Not of him, not of her, but of her people. Training children, breaking them, turning them into hunters, into killers, into tools, into her. "How did you get this?" she whispered. "I was a prisoner," he said, "on your planet. They didn't know I understood your language." The hologram changed. Now it showed her, young, small, holding her sister's hand, watching the other children fight, crying in the dark. "I was there when she died," he said gently. "They made you believe it was your fault, but it wasn't." She backed away. Her breath quickened. "Stop," she growled. "You don't know me." "I do," he replied. "You know my past," she said, voice shaking. "Not me." "But the past made you," he said, "and you don't have to be trapped in it forever." She fell to her knees. The trap wasn't meant to hold her body. It was meant to hold a mirror, to show her everything she tried to bury, to show her the truth. She wasn't a predator by nature. She was a child trained to forget softness, to forget herself. He came closer, knelt beside her, didn't touch her, didn't speak, just sat in silence. And somehow, that was louder than any words. "Why me?" she finally whispered. "Why save me?" He looked at her. "Because you saved me first," he said. She blinked. "When?" He smiled, small and sad. "The day you hesitated." She remembered, back on her homeworld. A small human prisoner. She had raised her blade, but something stopped her. He had looked at her with wide eyes, not begging, not crying, just trusting. She had turned and walked away, never spoke of it again. She thought it was weakness, but now, maybe it was strength. The tunnel rumbled. Dust fell. The human stood fast. "They're coming," he said. "Who?" she asked. "Your people." She stood too. "They will kill you." "I know," he said. He handed her a small cube, a communication device. "You can call them off." She stared at the device, at him, at the path behind her. Then she crushed the cube in her hand. "No," she said. "We face them together." He nodded. No fear, only trust. Just like before, above them, the jungle trembled. Ships landed. Shadows moved. Weapons hummed. And the real battle was about to begin. The warriors paused. The night was silent again, but this silence was different from before. It wasn't the silence of a trap. It wasn't the silence of fear. It was the silence of waiting. Underground, in a narrow cave just beyond the Chamber of Truths, Kashera sat with her back against the cold stone wall. Her body was still. Her claws were retracted. Her weapons laid neatly beside her. She should have been sharpening them. But she didn't move. She stared at the man across from her, the human who had become the center of her storm. He sat cross-legged, tending to a small fire between them. His hands were steady, his eyes calm, his voice quiet as he hummed a soft human tune. Not a warrior's song, a lullaby, meant for comfort, for peace. Kashera had never known peace. Not truly. Her eyes didn't leave his face. How could he be so calm? How could he trust her after everything? Even now, she could tear him apart in seconds. But she wouldn't. She couldn't. And that scared her more than any enemy ever had. "They'll be here soon," he said quietly, not looking up. She didn't answer. "Your people, your commanders, your sisters in arms, the ones who called you a hunter, a killer." He fed a dry stick into the flame. "What will you be when they arrive?" His question sat between them like a sharp blade. Kashera didn't speak for a long time. Her thoughts were loud inside her skull. "What will I be? A hunter, a traitor, a broken weapon." She thought back to her training, years of it, drills, beatings, victories. The way they taught her to move without sound, to kill without feeling, to obey without question. But what had they never taught her? How to pause, how to breathe, how to feel. She finally spoke, softly. When I was young, I used to ask why we hunt. The human looked up. She kept her gaze on the fire. They told me it was honor, that hunting made us strong, that we must cut the weak to rise. She reached into her armor and pulled out something small, a necklace. It was made from 2 small teeth. One hers, one her sister's. She held it in her palm. She didn't want to be a hunter, Kashura whispered. She wanted to be a builder. She liked flowers more than blades. The human didn't interrupt. Kashura's voice shook. She failed her first test. The elders ordered me to finish her. She looked at the flames. I said no. She closed her hand tightly. They did it instead. Silence returned. Not cold, not sharp, just quiet. He reached out and placed something in her lap. A soft cloth. Inside it, a stone. Just a simple, flat stone. But it had something carved on it. A flower. A rithori bloom. The same kind she had found in the clearing. But this one was carved with care. Its petals perfect. Its stem gently bent, like it was dancing in wind. You made this? She asked. He nodded. Why? Because I wanted you to see something gentle, he said. Something no one ever gave you. She stared at the stone. Her hands trembled slightly. For the first time in her life. Her eyes stung. A single tear fell down her cheek. She wiped it fast. But he had already seen it. You don't have to go back, he said. Her voice was low, broken. I have nowhere else. Yes, you do, he said. You have here. You have me. She shook her head. You don't know what you're saying. I do. They will kill you. They'll kill me for standing beside you. He looked at her gently. Then we stand together anyway. A long silence passed. She stood and walked to the edge of the tunnel. From there she could see the stars again. So many. They blinked like tiny fires in the dark. Do you think stars feel trapped? She asked suddenly. He joined her side. Maybe, he said. But they still shine. For the next hour, they sat side by side without speaking. Sometimes silence says more than words. Then, out of nowhere, she spoke again. Do you think I could be more than what they made me? He turned to her, his voice full of truth. I already see it. She looked at him for a long time. Not like prey, not like enemy, but like someone she didn't expect to find. Someone meant to find her. Later that night, as the wind howled above and thunder rolled again, Kashura lay down near the fire. The man was already sleeping. She watched him for a while. The rise and fall of his chest, the peace on his face. She could hear his heart. Strong, steady, real. Without thinking, she moved closer. Slowly, gently. And when she laid down beside him, something strange happened. She felt safe. For the first time, she whispered one word before closing her eyes. Thank you. Above them, ships began to land. The enemy would arrive soon. But for now, just for this moment, the warrior rested. Not as a hunter, not as a killer, but as something new, something real, something human. Hunters become the hunted. The ground shook. Not from thunder this time, but from ships landing. 3 of them. Heavy warships from the sky, falling like judgment. Trees cracked. Wind screamed. Fire burned through the leaves as the ships dug into the earth, surrounding the jungle clearing. Kashura stood on the edge of the cliff, looking down at the landing zone. Her arms were crossed. Her face was calm, but her heart was a battlefield. Behind her, the human watched in silence. He didn't ask her to stay. He didn't beg her to run. He simply stood beside her, ready, waiting, trusting. The sky was no longer dark. It glowed with red light from the ships, and from the ships came warriors, like Kashera once was. Masked, armored, proud, but cold, empty. Unit Alpha is on the ground. A voice crackled through the jungle air. Not human, not soft. Alien, hard, metallic. Target must be captured alive. Kill the human if necessary. Kashera's fists tightened. Down below, her old commander stepped out from the ship, tall, strong, golden armor shining like fire. His name was Varon. She had trained under him since she was 13. He once told her, "You were born for war, and you will die with blood in your hands." He believed it was a compliment. Now it sounded like a curse. "They'll move fast," the human said quietly. "They'll sweep the forest, set traps, use thermal drones." Kashera nodded. "They taught me everything they know." He looked at her. "Is that enough?" She met his eyes, and for the first time, she didn't feel like one of them. She felt like herself. "No," she said, "but we have something they don't." "What?" "Each other." They moved quickly through the jungle. Not running, planning. Kashera's mind was sharp. Her memories of their old tactics became tools for defense, not attack. She led the human through back paths, hidden tunnels, high branches. She placed smoke bombs and noise traps in places she knew they would pass. Soon the jungle echoed with confusion. The hunters, her people, had lost their path. But it didn't last. They adapted fast. A low drone buzzed through the trees. A flash of red. "They found your heat signature," she whispered. He turned. "And yours?" She smirked. "I'm not warm enough." Then they heard a voice, deep, commanding. "Kashera, report in." Her old commander. His voice was close. Too close. "You are wounded, confused. Return, and we will forgive your failure. Hand over the human." The human looked at her. "You don't have to fight." "Yes, I do," she said, "but not for them." They reached a river. A shallow one. Water rushed over flat stones. Here, they could lose the scent, the sound. But a blast hit the trees behind them. Fire. Flames climbed fast. Smoke rolled across the ground. "Go," Kashera said, pushing the human forward. "I'm not leaving you." "You're not," she said, smiling. "We're going together, but I'll hold the line." He opened his mouth to argue. But then, 3 warriors stepped out from the smoke, blasters ready. Their eyes locked on Kashera. They recognized her, but they didn't bow. They aimed. "Kashera of the blood tier," one of them said. "Stand down." She raised her head. "No." They hesitated. Just a moment. And that moment was enough. She threw a flash bomb. White light exploded through the trees. She tackled the first warrior, ripped the blaster from his hand, used it to strike the second. The third raised his weapon, but the human shot from behind a tree using one of Kashera's own traps. The warrior fell. 3 down, but more were coming. They ran again. The human breathing hard. "How long can we run?" Kashera looked at him. "We're not running." They reached a cave, deep and wide. Inside it, she had prepared something earlier. A decoy. A life signal. A trap. She led the human in, then whispered, "They'll follow us here." And then I showed them what they created. It didn't take long. Shadows filled the cave. 12 warriors. And Varon. He stepped forward, tall and proud. His voice echoed off the stone walls. "You've forgotten who you are." Kashera stood tall. "No, I finally remembered." He raised his weapon. The human stepped beside her. Varon laughed. "You protect a weak creature." She smiled. "He's not weak. He's free. And I want that more than your power." Varon's eyes narrowed. "Then die with him." He fired, but the blast hit nothing. The image of Kashera flickered, a hologram. The real Kashera dropped from the cave ceiling above them. Her attack was brutal, swift, unstoppable. She struck Varun hard, sending him crashing into stone. The others turned, but traps exploded at their feet. Fire, smoke, flash, chaos. The human joined the fight, using tools she had taught him. They weren't soldiers, but they were together. And together, they were stronger. When the smoke cleared, Varun was gone. The warriors scattered, defeated, not by force, but by something stronger. Choice. Outside, the wind changed. The jungle breathed again. The fight was over, for now. Kashera looked at the human. His face was bruised, his shirt torn, but he was smiling. "Was that your plan all along?" he asked. She nodded. "You said you had traps." She looked back at the battlefield. "They were never for you." The new hunt. The jungle was quiet again. But this time, it wasn't silent out of fear. It was resting, healing, from the fires, from the fight, from the weight of old stories finally ending. Kashera stood barefoot in the river, letting the cold water wash away the ash from her skin. Her armor was gone, burned, buried, or simply left behind. She didn't need it now. She wasn't a soldier anymore. The human sat on the bank, fixing the small solar radio. His hands moved slow, careful. He was humming again, one of those soft human songs, the kind that stuck in the wind. He didn't speak much since the battle. But he didn't need to. Sometimes silence says more. Kashera stepped out of the water and sat beside him. They looked at the sky together. The smoke was gone. Birds were back. A soft breeze moved through the leaves. "They'll return," she said quietly. "Maybe," he replied. "And they'll want blood." He nodded. "Maybe." She turned her head toward him. "So what happens now?" He placed the radio down, looked into her eyes. "Now, you choose." Those words hit deeper than any command ever had. "You choose." She stared at her hands. These were hands that had ended lives, hands that were trained to obey, to strike, to follow. But now, they could do anything. Build, heal, hold. She looked at him again. "What if I don't know what to choose?" He smiled softly. "Then we figure it out, together." They sat in silence for a long time. Then she stood. She walked to a tree nearby. An old one, wide and strong. Its bark had carvings, not of war, not of names, but of moments. Small symbols from her people's history. She placed her palm on the trunk. And then, using her claw, she carved a new symbol. Not for death, not for strength, but for freedom. That night, they made a small fire, not to stay warm, not to send smoke signals, but just to feel human. She lay beside him on the ground, eyes open, watching the stars. "Do you still think I was the predator?" she asked. He turned to her, smiling. "No," he said. "You were the storm. And you. I was the calm after." They laughed softly. And for the first time, their laughter didn't echo like ghosts. It sounded real, alive. A few days passed. They built a shelter, simple, strong, hidden in the trees. Birds nested above. Rabbits came close at night. They hunted only what they needed. They grew what they could. And for the first time in either of their lives, they lived. Not as prey, not as predator, but as partners. One morning, while he was preparing food, she walked behind him and placed a hand on his shoulder. He turned, surprised. She was holding something. A carved necklace, made from stone, twine, and a single metal claw. Hers. "What's this?" he asked. "A hunter's mark," she said. "But I changed the meaning." He smiled. "What does it mean now?" She placed it around his neck. "It means you're mine." Weeks turned into months. No ships returned. No orders came. But even if they did, she wouldn't answer. One morning, while walking through the forest, they found something strange. A girl. Alien. Young. Alone. She was hiding behind a tree, scared, skinny, shaking. Her skin was silver blue, her clothes torn. Her eyes met Kashera's, and in that moment, Kashera saw something familiar. Herself. She knelt down and extended her hand. The girl hesitated, then took it. Kashera smiled. "You don't have to run anymore," she said. "Not here." They brought the girl home, gave her food, warmth, a place to sleep. The girl spoke little at first, but days later she laughed at one of the humans' silly stories. And Kashera smiled. The jungle wasn't just healing, it was growing. One evening, as the fire burned low, the human turned to Kashera. "You know," he said, "we're not hiding anymore." She nodded. "We're hunting." "What for?" he asked. She looked up at the stars. "Others like her," she said. "Others like me." The hunt was no longer for prey, no longer for glory. This was the new hunt, a hunt for the forgotten, the broken, the ones who had no voice. And this time, they would not hunt alone.